Huawei is always recognized for cheap plastic smartphones, but will their latest phablet be able to change that? Spoiler alert, it will. Starting with the design, the phone is a fully aluminum device. There is a little bit of plastic at the top and the bottom to allow the antenna signal to go through. It's a well put together smartphone and it feels like any other aluminum flagship smartphone. And it looks great, this shiny back, especially in the gold color. In the front, the phone has a 6-inch screen, front-facing camera and sensors. On the right side, there is a responsive and tactile power and volume buttons. On the right side, there is a micro SIM card tray and a micro SD card slot that can double as a second SIM card tray. On the bottom, there is only the micro USB and mic. On the top, there is the second mic and a headphone jack. And on the back, there is a 13 megapixel camera with flash, loudspeaker on the bottom, which is loud but tiny and lacks bass, but it's average. And actually a functional fingerprint scanner that works 90% of the time. It's intelligently placed and very accurate. It relies on tap, not swipe, as other Samsung phones. And yes, you can snap selfies by resting your thumb on the sensor. So as I mentioned, this phone has a 6-inch display and it's huge, despite Huawei's effort to slim down the bezels. At first it was hard to get used to it, but after using it for a period of time I got used to it. You'll have to adjust your grip and it's reasonably thin phone, so it shouldn't be a big problem, but again, you shouldn't be expecting to use a 6-inch phone one-handed. The display is good. Not as good as the one on the Galaxy Note 4, but the 1080p IPS panel is quite sharp. At 368 ppi, it has decent viewing angles. And not as deep blacks as AMOLED panels, but it's good nonetheless. And it's viewable at direct sunlight. In terms of specs, the phone comes with a homemade chip from Huawei called the High Silicon Current 925, which is formed of quad-core 1.8 GHz Cortex-A15 and another quad-core 1.3 GHz Cortex-A7. A total of 8 cores and a Mali T628 GPU coupled with 3 gigs of RAM in the higher version, which is what I have here. Long story short, this phone performs really good. Despite the dropped frames every now and then, the phone handles all tasks with ease, and multitasking is great because of the 3 GB. In terms of demanding tasks like gaming, it plays all graphically intensive games with no problem. I did a gaming test that I will be sure to leave a link for it in the description below. The camera is 13 megapixel made by Sony, so it's an IMRS sensor with f2.0 lens. At good light, it gets really good shots. It has good dynamic range, much better than the HTC One M8, which used to crush the darks and brighten the lights. Colors are neutral, not super saturated as other phones, and there is not over sharpening, and details are all there. At low light, it struggles a bit with details and colors tend to get washed out, but this is the case with most smartphones, and the flash might help alleviate that, but I wouldn't be using that. But for quick photo taking and sharing on the web, it's more than adequate. The Emotion UI is built on Android 4.4 KitKat. It's like other softwares that Chinese OEMs that lacks app drawer, which is something that I'm not fond of, but I got used to it rather quickly. But folders are needed to organize your apps, but there is actually a lot of aspects to like about this software, like the ability to customize your icons and wallpapers using themes. However, there isn't many included. There is the swipe down in the gallery to launch the camera, the split notification panel, which time view is really handy and well arranged. You can also add extra buttons to the navigation bar. You can even hide it altogether. And weird enough, if you're playing music from the streaming service like Google Play Music or Spotify and change the song from the lock screen, it shuffles through the built-in music player. The battery is 41 mAh and it lasts for days of moderate use and a day for a heavy user. And I did a detailed video about the battery. I'll make sure to leave in the description. So if you want to buy a phone that lasts for days and has a great quality and build to it, a stylish look with large display to consume media, look no further. You can pay more and get the Galaxy Note 4 that has a sharper display, but mostly made of plastic and doesn't have the longevity of the Mate 7. It might have quirks, but at the end of the day, it's a great phone that has room for improvement and makes me excited what Huawei has in store next.